So we've got here a Toshiba Satellite Pro 4600 laptop. It's a very old laptop, but it works great with Puppy Linux on it, and it's suffering from a weak CMOS battery, so we've got a replacement. And this isn't like a desktop battery, which is one of the little thin circular batteries that just clip onto the motherboard. This has got a kind of a weird arrangement, and we need to get at it to replace it, and it's basically involves taking the keyboard off, but we also need to lift this off because it's somewhere around here is where the battery is housed, and the connector for the motherboard is underneath here somewhere. So we need to do a little bit of dismantling of this laptop to get to it. So that's what we're going to have a go at doing. Now the first thing that we need to do is to remove all the bottom screws labelled B16 and B6. And if you look at this this laptop here, you can just see, you may not be able to see because the camera can't focus in, but that's labelled, it says B6, so we know that's a B6 screw that goes in there, and that one is a B16. So we're going to take all those out so that we can pull the back off. And there's also this one and this one that will need to come off as well. There's also a number of screws within the battery compartment, so there are some B6s in there, so we need to remember to remove the battery so we can remove those as well. Just so you can see here, your main difference between your B16s and your B6s is the length. Your B16s are a lot longer than your B6 screws, so they're quite easy to tell apart. I've just kept them in two piles so I can remember. If we're going to do a big dismantling job on this, and we're going to be taking it apart and taking out some of the B4s and things like that, I would probably put these on a piece of paper and label the piece of paper, or put them in separate containers so I know which ones are which. But I can remember that these are B16s and that these are B6s. So our next job now is to remove the keyboard, and it's held on by two screws which are under this fascia here, and it's very easy to remove this. You can just get a screwdriver or a flat-headed screwdriver under the two notches, just loosen it, and then the thing will come off. And then as you can see, we've got one screw here and another screw just here, so we'll get that removed. Okay, so we've got them removed, we've lifted the keyboard out, and we're just going to disconnect the ribbon cable from this connector here. You do that by kind of lifting the whole thing up, that loosens it. So when you put it back together, you just pop it back in and press it down, and that locks the cable in place. These are very delicate, they don't need a lot of effort at all, so you just got to remember to be gentle with them. The next thing that we need to do is there are three B16 screws here, so there is that one, and that one, and I think it's this one as well, which we're going to need to remove because these are kind of holding everything together. So we're going to have a go at taking those out now. Okay, so those three screws are out. As I say, the CMOS battery is about here, but if you just look where my finger is, that's the connector onto the motherboard. So we'll be taking that out, and the battery is held around here somewhere. We're going to need to disconnect these ribbon cables as well, okay, so that we can lift everything off, and this one here. Okay, so that's easy to do. Again, just be careful with them, don't want to break anything. Okay, just realised there's two screws here, two B6 screws, which also need removing as well. Okay, otherwise we're just not going to get this off, so we're just going to have a go at taking those out. Okay, the other thing you need to remove is the two connectors here, which are for the wireless adapter. This doesn't actually have a wireless adapter, but it still has all the cabling, and this runs around here, and it actually goes to nowhere, believe it or not. Okay, and then you're able to lift everything off, and this is the base. And as you can see under here, under this tape, is the CMOS battery. We should just be able to pull that back. There we go. There it is. So we're going to take that out and unplug that and just replace that. Okay, the cable on the replacement is just a little bit longer, so we've just had to just bend it round, but that'll be fine. Just make sure it doesn't get in the way of any screws and you don't actually nick the wire and therefore break it as you put it back together. But that's now in place, and what we've got to do now is reassemble everything. Okay, so we've got everything reassembled, so we're now going to switch on and see what we get. Now it may well have reset itself and reset the system time and everything. There we go. Check system, then press the F1 key. Okay, now we do have some issues with the screen thing on this laptop here, so we need to press the F1 key. That's going to take us now into the system setup. So that's fine. We then need to set the system time. I'm not too sure if we can do this in here, so we will launch our operating system and then go in and set the system time. Okay, so if we press end, save changes and exit, are you sure? Yes, we are. Okay, so that's what we would expect to see after a CMOS battery change. It's going to realise that everything has been reset, so we're just going to boot into Puppy Linux. Okay, so we should look down here and we can see, yeah, system time has reset now. So we will change that in the system. And hopefully it will keep time and remember time, and that's been the issue we've had. And what happens is, if you don't have the correct system time, all these security certificates when you go online won't work. It will say there's an invalid certificate because these are based around dates and times. So your system time has to be absolutely right. So changing your CMOS battery when it's going flat is important. The sign that your CMOS battery is going flat is that your computer is not keeping time. I was to say this laptop will pop up with a message if it gets really low. But that's now been done. CMOS battery's up to date. Job's a good one.